What's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to another encouraging video with LOOLOO. If you're new here, my name is LOOLOO. Welcome back to an encouraging word. I'm so happy to be ending the night with an encouraging word. I love ending the night with an encouraging word. So welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. Okay. So I got a DM in my Instagram messages and it said, I struggle every day trying to do what's on my heart and what I believe in, and it's hard sometimes not to get discouraged. Maybe you can make a video about this and so on. And so I sat for a moment and I thought about this question. And first things first, like if you're struggling to do what's on your heart and you're kind of just struggling to do the things that align with what you believe in, one thing that I suggest that you do is to get rigorously honest with yourself. Kind of like audit yourself at the end of the week. One thing that I learned is like the only time you can change something is when you track it. Like you can't change what you don't track. And so one thing that I encourage you to do is to start tracking like what you eat, what you do every day, like how you spend your time. That way you can make a change. And it's so important to just be honest with yourself and to just really kind of look at your everyday actions. And I think that once we look at what we're doing, once we track it, then we can change. And so that's the first tip I'd like to give you. Tip number 2, I suggest that you remove the distractions in your life that are getting in the way. Like if you find yourself distracted, it's going to be hard to actually take action towards the things that you want to do if you're getting distracted by the news or what's on the TV or what people that have nothing to do with you are doing in their life. Like, does that make sense? And so, as you're tracking your week and just kind of auditing yourself, ask yourself, what am I distracted by every day? And I think that once we remove our distractions, once we track our distractions and once we track what we're doing in our day, then we can remove them. Does that make sense? Okay, so number 3, I wrote down stay focused. Focus is boring. Like sometimes when you do the same thing over and over again, it gets boring. You're like, oh my gosh, nothing's happening. And I'm bored. I was listening to the Him and Her podcast, The Skinny Confidential, and they were talking about how you have to be focused. You have to be focused on what it is that you want. And that focus is boring. And I was like, you know what? Focus is boring. One thing that I learned is that that's what being focused is. It might be boring, but it's so important that every day you take the steps that are necessary to get you to your goal, right? And so even though focus is boring, like not hanging out with your friends and focusing on the thing that you want, and not turning on the TV to tune out and focusing on the thing that you want, not listening to any crazy music that distracts you, whatever it is that distracts you, eliminate that and stay focused on what it is that you want. Now it's going to be boring, but it's okay. Short-term pain for long-term gain, right? Okay, so number 4, write what's on your heart, write down what you believe in, and look at it every single day. So that's another thing. I literally in front of my bed, on my wall, have everything written down, how I want to feel, literally all of it. I have it all written down. And one thing that I've heard is that if you don't write it down, then it's just a fantasy. And so I just want to encourage you to write it down, whatever it is that's on your heart, whatever it is that you want to feel, whatever it is that you believe in, write those things down and look at it every single day. I have sticky notes everywhere. Sometimes you just need a reminder because we have all these little our inner critics in our head that will distract us or tell us we're not good enough. So I feel the more we focus on what we want and what we believe in, and we have that written down, the easier it is to stay focused on it, right? Okay, so whatever desires are on your heart, whatever it is that God tells you, He is going to fulfill His promises to you. He put the desires on your heart there. So if things aren't working out in the way that you thought they should be, or in the time that you like, just remember that if God could literally give Sarah a son at 9 years old, because that's what He promised to her, God is going to fulfill His promises to you too. Remember, God does not make mistakes, and He has His hand on your life. So I just want you to be encouraged by that, because sometimes I know when things aren't going the way that we think they should be, we get discouraged. But I just want to encourage you, any time that you feel discouraged or you feel down or things aren't happening the way that you think that they should be. Trust that like if what it is that you want is not happening, that like God only wants better for you. Like there's nothing that God is going to give you that's worse. You know what I mean? And so I just want to encourage you to like ask God for heavenly guidance. Like ask God for guidance, you know? And I promise you, like, he will direct your steps and everything that you want, like all the desires of your heart. The things that you want, I believe God put them there. And so he's going to fulfill his promises to you. And so I just want to encourage you with that tonight. Like anytime you feel discouraged, just remember that like God is going to fulfill his promises to you, and they're going to be better than you could ever imagine. Rome was not built in a day, okay? Good things take time. And every day, ask yourself, like, hey, are the actions I'm taking today, are those, like, am I planting the seeds that I want to reap the harvest from? Like, you know what I mean? Like, ask yourself, get honest with yourself and ask yourself, like, are the seeds I'm planting today going to benefit me for, you know, the desires of my heart, like for what God has put me on this earth for? Like, ask yourself that. Eventually, you will see the fruits of your labor, and they're going to be better than you could have ever imagined. And so, I also wanted to recommend a book, and it's A Compound Effect. The compound effect is the principle of reaping huge rewards from a series of small, smart choices. The idea behind the compound effect is that the small, consistent action over a long period of time has greater payoffs than intensely large but short changes. Compound Effect by Darren Hardy completely shifted my perspective and changed my life, and he gives you such great tools to take with you throughout your life. And one thing that I love that he teaches and just like totally help reframe my mind is that like it's the small changes that we make every day that eventually lead us to our results. Staying consistent with those small changes compound on top of one another and eventually get you the results that you have. So that could be bad or good, but everything in our life like compounds on top of one another, and it's not about like, you know, figuring out the secret or figuring out like the one thing that's just completely going to get you what you want. It's not that at all. It's about the small changes that you make every day that are going to lead you to sustain that thing that you want. So I just want to encourage you today to like keep going, you know, don't give up. God does not make mistakes, and anytime you're feeling let down or bad or, you know, like God has just forgot about you, just remember like you are his beloved and he's put you on this earth for a purpose. Like you're here for a purpose. The odds of you being here is like 400 trillion to 1. Like you're meant to be here, and so clearly you have a big purpose, even if it doesn't feel like that. And so I'll leave it at that tonight. I hope you enjoyed the encouraging word. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and hit subscribe, share it with your friends and your family or just anyone who needs to hear this. And just remember, like, don't give up. You know, everything that you do is compounding on one another, and like God's going to fulfill his promises to you, okay? Like the desires of your heart, they were put there by God, and it's going to happen. It's all going to happen. Just every day, like, take the steps that you know God has given you to become better. And fiance, he's probably older than you, and he's been going at his art for so many years, seriously, like 20 years. Now he's getting his big break. Like, so whether if your dream was not happened yet, like keep going. Like it's gonna happen, you know, whether it be in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Like if he can do it, a quadriplegic, you can do it too. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I love you so much, and I will see you in the next video. You got this. Do not give up. Love you.